Hey, good evening, and welcome to Graps TV and the Sicko Show. I am your host, the Matty Man, and tonight we're going to be diving into the crevices of what hit at Dynamite, and we're going to talk a little bit about storylines because I've had this conversation way too many times, and I think it's time to have it like once and for all here. That makes sense? So that's what I'm going to be doing today. Here, we're going to hit the quick ones here real quick. Hangman defeated Tomohiro Ishii. Jamie Hayter beat Harley Cameron. And Ricochet beat Kyle Fletcher. And Brian Danielson addressed his future. Willow Nightingale versus Chris Statlander was set up for All Out. So on and so forth. But I want to talk today about what actually hit for me. And I think the most underappreciated and underrated part of this show was twofold. Number one, Harley Cameron is improving every single time. Every time in the ring, we see something new. Every time outside the ring, we see a new layer of personality there. And quite frankly, you just can't beat that. Hello to the new viewer. You just hopping in here. Thank you. Um, but that's not all that hit. That's actually not all that hit. And I've seen a lot of controversy about this on the streams today. And of course, Busted Open's got 10,000 things they want to say about one simple thing. And it's never good, but it's, they get the viewers and they get everything else. So I guess it works just fine for them. But I think we're overlooking a lot more of what could be happening behind the scenes. Let's break it down, starting off with the Mox promo. Number one, that crowd was complete doo doo. Okay, trying to keep it clean, trying to have a clean stream here. That crowd was complete doo doo in the first place. They did not know what John Moxley's entrance music was in New Japan Wrestling, and chances are they never will because they'll never actually do the research. But I mean, it's more like, and that is not Chicago, by the way. Champaign is not Chicago. It's not Chicago. Chicago's a little bit more into it and all that. But the crowd was kind of, we could have had a better crowd there. But that notwithstanding, the actual, this is not your company anymore. What does that mean? Well, a lot of people have speculated that that means Shane McMahon's coming in. And I think where there's smoke, there's fire on that one. That part I will say. However, I did see one unique moment where somebody said Josh Barnett. Let me go ahead and dispel that right now. Josh Barnett, I doubt would ever come into AEW in any kind of capacity. In case you didn't catch Bloodsport the last time, which was I may not watch Bloodsport again because it was such a WWE circle jerk that it wasn't funny. They let WWE go over their people. And in the case with the Creed brothers, for instance, they let the Creed brothers go over using the exact same move, the same thing, same way, same everything. That's it. They're called off. And then proceed to go on Monday and get dumped by a bunch of. I know they're pushing the Wyatt Six in such a way, and that's a whole nother show for a whole nother time. But the reality of it is they let the Creed brothers go over and they let What's Her Face go over. I really try to block some of that stuff out of my head. And then the Creed brothers proceeded to crap their mess kit the following Monday. So if I'm not mistaken, that probably kills Bloodsport for me for at least the next couple of months, Josh. I got to say that. Because it looked to me like it was an absolute fest. So somebody says, what if Josh Barnett is coming to AEW? And what if pigs fly out of my ass? Because you've got a better shot of that than Josh Barnett being welcome in AEW. It just is what it is, guys. Okay? So we got to let that go. Hey, we got another viewer. Can't see you yet. We're working on that. Thank you, though. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. Um, the other aspect of the Shane McMahon thing. Let's talk about that for a minute. If Shane McMahon came in tomorrow, let's say Shane comes in tomorrow. Just okay, Shane's there. Some things would change. I think the credibility of the entire organization would go up just a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be that massive. But what Shane brings to the table is growing up in the business and understanding what angles work and how they work. I think he can work just fine in the AEW format because, believe it or not, WWE fans, this is how WWF used to book. They had matches. Of course, they had storylines and a couple of gimmicks and so on and so forth, but it wasn't a drama driven show. It was a wrestling driven show. Now, granted, there might be two clowns wrestling each other, but at least they were wrestling. And the promos were a minute, 2 minutes. You had to be like a big star to talk for like more than 5 minutes. You had to be a Stone Cold. You had to be a Rock. You had to be a Triple H. Now everybody gets 10, 15 minutes. So there wasn't really that much difference in it, but it's how it worked the angles to keep the show profitable. Those are the places where I think that Shane McMahon's going to be the biggest help for AEW if he indeed signs. Now, there's still speculation as to whether he will or won't, and quite frankly, I'm with him. I don't know that he will. I don't know that it's not going to be an 11th hour decision. I don't know exactly how it's going to break out. All I know is that if he does sign, that's where his greatest asset's going to be. Is because he can actually blend the stories together, and he still remembers how to book more than one at a time. So, to me, that would make him a valuable asset. Now, what exactly did Mox mean when he said this is not your company anymore? Now, obviously, he was not hanging out with Blackpool Combat Club. I don't know that that means that he's gone. So, I don't know. I don't know. For once, I can say the only thing that I think this signals more or less is maybe we're getting Shane, or maybe, just maybe, who says we don't get Scott D'Amore? Even in a part-time capacity. Who's to say that we don't get both of them? That's something to think about. You know, that is something to think about. Who's to say that we don't get both of them? Let me try something here real quick while I just see here. See here. All right, we've got that going now, so I can pop back over here. All right, maybe chat's going to work. I don't know. It gave me the opportunity to sign into it. That's all I was trying to do while we were live. It's okay, but getting back to that, what if it is Scott D'Amore, at least part-time? I haven't heard a single person say that all day. And Scott D'Amore is pulling in athletes from both AEW and TNA for his stuff up there at Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. So who's to say it's not him? Now, I'm not saying it won't be Shane. But I have a lot of questions if that happens. Like, you know, where did he fit in with the family scandal? Is he bringing that with him? Because I can tell you right now, AEW would not survive that kind of scandal. And the only reason WWE will survive it is because their fans simply don't care. But if that scandal were happening in AEW, come on, guys, let's get real. That show would shut up, shut down, in the whole 9 yards. They'd have to close shop. Nobody would watch. You know, because it's just is what it is. Which leads me into the next thing, too. There was a segment of Swerve and Hangman Adam Page, which has clogged up my feed all day long. First off, it was fantastically done. And the ones who were more or less crapping on it all day seem to forget that they did the same angles too, because And in fact, the one person not saying anything, Stone Cold Steve Austin, because he picked up his ball and went home. When it didn't make good business sense, he's like, I'm not doing it. And he packed his stuff and went home. Because the match didn't make it, for what they were asking him to do, didn't make good business sense. So he's like, screw this, I'm going home. What Adam Page did was twofold. And the problem is the disingenuous wrestlers who run podcasts say, oh, no, this is not how you're supposed to. There should have been an ass whooping there, knowing damn good and well that when they were building up tension, walking away as opposed to giving it away for free was what they did 99 times out of 100. Occasionally, that kind of stuff would come to blows, especially if that's a key matchup. Because the fights every week and the constant stuff, wrestling is a scripted show. It is athletes performing according to a script, but they are still athletes. And these are still what we call bumps. And the main reason you don't want to have a physical confrontation every single time is because every single time you have a physical confrontation, you have the possibility for an accident. You have a probability for an accident shortly thereafter. The more you build up the physicality, the more you increase your chances for an injury. And plus, guys, make up your damn minds. Do you want them to be physical or do you not want them to be physical? One week it's like, I can't believe they did this, that, and the third to Jack Perry. I mean, CTE, this, that, and the other. Okay. The next week, I can't believe they didn't go to blows. I mean, for real. Can we just stop this bullshit? Yeah, you knew it wasn't going to last that long. You knew we weren't going to have a profanity-free stream that deep into this. But no, I mean, the way this story is breaking out, they're in each other's space. They're in everything. Then he starts talking about family, which has been, I will say this. I will say this, and I will mean this. If that's going to be the crux of the promo, we need to switch it up every once in a while. Because everybody's got family. That includes you. Just a thought. Because there's only so many ways you can run this what about your wife and kids thing. There's only so many times you can do that. Then it gets stale. But that notwithstanding, he gets into that part. And Hangman is so furious. You could see it in his eyes. He had an option to make physicality part of it. But as deep in the show as this happened, I don't blame Tony Khan for calling an audible saying, you know what? This crowd's been trash all night long. I've given them 2 freebies. And he gave away 2 freebies. And the crowd was still trash. So I believe that was the main reason we didn't get the physicality this time. And it maybe we get it at the next show. For Collision. Or the next Dynamite. I think we get the physicality there. But I think Tony Khan makes the correct move here by not giving a dead, stale fan base anything for free. I believe that was an audible that was called literally in one of their ears. That was an audible that had to be, or when they were on the way out, look, you guys can go up to here, but we're not giving this crowd anything else for free. They gave them Mox for free. You got Jamie Hayter for free. Why in the hell? What? You got Pac for free. You got the stare down between Will Ospreay and Ricochet for free. How much more free stuff does a dead audience get before the booker says, you know what? And it's bad business. This is likely going to be one of the top two matches, if not the top match at All Out. With the kind of physicality these two guys are capable of having, this is going to be a top match. Why in the world? Do not cast your pearls before swine. That was the phrase that Mox said. And after Mox said that, you notice how the timbre of the show went. Mox told you we're not giving it away. So I don't understand these quote-unquote seasoned veterans, and I'm not calling anybody by name anymore, because for God's sakes, I don't want their little pandering piece of garbage fan base crawling up my ass because I'm sitting here telling the truth. I don't want that. So I'm not giving them any clout at this point. But how in the world could you be a professional wrestler for 35 or 40 years and not look at it the same way? Boggles my imagination. I'm going to let that sit there for just a minute. How in the world can you be a professional wrestler and get outscooped by a fan? Which is what I'm called all the time. How do you do what you do for 30 some odd years, 40 some odd years, and come back with a shitty bad take? Now, I can understand the one idiot up there running his mouth. He's probably never been in the ring. But the rest of them sitting there going, oh, yeah, you know, that was garbage, man. It made him look weak. No, he wasn't giving it away. It actually made that feud stronger, because I can tell you right now, I'm dying to see it. I'm invested. Because it didn't come to blows. And because I think we got the warning message from Jon Moxley. Because do not cast your pearls before swine is biblical. But it also says you shouldn't let your good works go to the pigs. And I think that was the attitude. 2/3 of the way into that show, I was like, wow, this wrestling's really good. These fans suck. They really do. And Tony, I know Orange Cassidy's your favorite. And I know for some odd reason we're going to see Chris Jericho every damn week. Keep doing it like this. Put them all together in the same segment. That was a smart move. That was a smart move. I like that. It makes it easier to deal with the rest of the matches because they fought each other. We got all the garbage out of the way, what I consider garbage. I am not a fan of either one of them. Chris Jericho should have retired 10 years ago, and Orange Cassidy should be in the frickin' indies doing that indie hands in the pocket garbage and stuff like that. It just doesn't hit for me. But it was good that they put the two of them together, because that way you got all the bullshit in one big pile. You didn't have a little bit of bullshit here, then something really good, then a little bit of bullshit over here. Put them all together. Good move. If you're going to present them, that's the best way to do it. Get all of the mids all together. Not saying everybody in there's mid, obviously, but at this stage of the game, Jericho's mid. And that's all there is to it. He's mid. Orange Cassidy is below mid. I don't even know if I'd call him a curtain jerker. He's mid. They're both mid. It was good to have all of them, and the Lee kid, that's good to have all of them. Big Bill in the middle of everything. That way you got them all in one match. We get it all out of our system. You get your favorites out there, and you're happy, and we're happy because we don't have to cover it twice. That match was good. It was really good. I can't say it wasn't. Hangman and Ishii, though, I'm still stuck on that. I'm still stuck on that DDT and him basically doing a headstand for like 20 seconds. I'm still stuck on that. I did not realize that Ishii could sell that way. Because all we ever see him do is chop, 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 chop. You get the Japanese wrestlers in there like, oh yeah, just go up there and chop for like 20 minutes. They'll love it. No, they don't. It was actually a good match. Hangman put on a good match. Hangman put on a tough match too. He showed us that he could be tough. Um, but we get to that part there where they're having their confrontation with him and Swerve. I didn't see the point in giving it away. I didn't. But the rest of it we're going to talk about here is we're going to talk about storylines because that has invaded my space yet again. It has. Can't get away from it. I can delete, block, mute. I can do that all. The shit still shows up in my feed. One way or another, somehow it shows up. Now today it showed up in a good faith way, just because my buddies over there at Covalent TV are obviously trolling people just for kicks and giggles, and I'm having fun with it too. I'm enjoying it. So they post this thing about, oh look, it's a story, and then somebody comes right under and says, yeah, but AEW. Oh no, I know what it was. They were covering the Andrade and Mini Mello feud so far, talking about, oh, this is like who's the best wrestler. Like if AEW, never mind. And I'm like, no, if AEW did that, it would be like you would get nothing but belly aching WWE drones. They'd be like, oh, there's no storyline, this, that, and the other. And it's trained at this point. You WWE drones are fucking trained. Anything you see that is not WWE, oh, they don't have this and they don't have that. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. This is going to be an educational moment here. Because I hate to break the bad news to you. I'm afraid I've got some bad news. Every fucking storyline in the history of Everdom is always about who is the best wrestler at that particular moment. You can dress it up with Dirty Sanchez, but at the end of the day, the match between Rhea and Liv is going to be who is the best wrestler. And the best wrestler generally carries the title. All of WWE storylines. You can put lipstick on that pig, but at the end of the day, it's still a pig. So, yeah, the Liv Rhea Ripley storyline right now is who's the best wrestler, and in stages, who's the best woman? Who's got the goods for whatever blindsided pick fucking reason they're fighting over this guy here. But that is the storyline. When you take all the drama out of it, put all that shit to the side, who's the best wrestler? Damian Priest, everybody he's fighting with. Who's the best wrestler? Braun Breaker basically tells you every week, I'm the best wrestler. Good luck. Nobody in your family's ever beat anybody in my family. Not true, but that's neither here nor there. But at the end of the day, Braun Breaker comes on television every week and basically says, I'm the best wrestler. Gunther, I am the most prestigious, best wrestler. Knock me off this heel. Every single WWE storyline in production now and in the history of Everdom comes down to one thing. Who is the best wrestler? Now we can come up with some storylines and so on and so forth. I mean, we can spruce it up a little bit. Wow, I got 6 viewers. Thanks, guys. God, I sounded like Chris Jericho. Somebody hit me in the head with a 2x4, please. Anyway, every storyline in all of wrestling, when GCW puts on an event, it's going to be about who's the deathmatch champion, i.e., who's the best wrestler. So I don't understand the vitriol. Every one of those matches last night in AEW, with the exception of one that I can think of, and that would have been the Jamie Hayter, and even that had a story to it. Her and Saraya have been going at it. Her and, oh God. It had a story. The difference is it didn't have a video package. It didn't have 35 minutes of promos. In other words, they don't sit there and explain it to you like you're 5. They expect you to pick that shit up at any given time. And it took me a little while to get the hang of that. Now, I will tell you that because I grew up on traditional wrestling. So as soon as I started watching AEW, I'm like, wow, this is kind of like some stuff I grew up with. But I had the WWE brain rot. I had that in place. Because I would look at it and go, well, where's the story here? You're not saying anything I didn't say until I realized that it is traditional wrestling. Which means I had to look for the storyline. I actually had to go find it. And that, my friends, is what makes you wiser. If you have to go look for something, you're damn sure going to remember it. And you're damn sure going to treasure it. Because you don't need 5 recaps and a news blip at the bottom left of your screen to remind you that you lost your keys. You don't need a video package to figure out where you parked your car in the parking lot. And all of this is the exact same thing. If you can't remember what happened 3 minutes ago, especially if it was reasonably compelling, television isn't for you. Now, I understand where that person was coming from, but they don't even understand where they were coming from. Because as soon as I said, you know what? They're like, oh, AEW, all of their storylines are about who's the best wrestler. Brain freeze. Because that's the purpose of having a fight. There are no properties to fight over except titles. And those titles are earned by fighting. And the people who earn the titles have fought and won more than the people who don't have them. Guess what? Same thing in WWE. I mean, did Triple H roll into the ring and hand Gunther that World Heavyweight title, or did he have to win it? And if he won it, does that mean... You see where I'm going with this? Oh, we have 7 now. This is good. Thank you. So, I would say miss me with that argument, but the problem is you're not going to. So I'm putting it together right here, right now. You can drop comments on the video. However you want to do it, that's perfectly fine. I don't care. I'll get chat working. It took a lot to get everything back up and running again after the changes. But I will get chat working correctly, and we will have conversations in the chat, and you will be able to talk to me, and I will respond accordingly. But the fact of the matter is, the entirety of storylines in wrestling, the entirety at work, I've seen burger flippers have contests to see who's the best burger flipper. At some point in time, you need to know these things. And that's what the ring is for. So if you're wondering why AEW doesn't have storylines, stop asking that question and start asking yourself, how much WWE booking brain rot do I have in my head? Because once you get that out of your head, the matches start to become insulting. It really is. Once you've done a deep cleanse of that whole scenario where you don't need to be led like a 5-year-old to water, life is very good. And once you understand that nobody gets up there and fights for the hell of it, it's to find out who's the best, who's going to be the world champion, the Intercontinental champion, the North American champion, you name it. There is combat to determine that, and the title speaks for itself. But everybody in there, even Liv and Rhea right now, even fighting over Dirty Sanchez. At the end of the day, it's who's the best woman. When you're at work, it's... I rarely have been second chair at any job I've ever had. anywhere in the IT department. I may have come in second chair, but I rarely stayed there. So I can say in my field, I am one of the best. Not the best, but one of the best. I'm somebody you could definitely have around in a crisis. Same thing with these inspections I do. I do them a certain way, and I'm not the best, but I'm one of the best. People ask for me because they know it will get done correctly. And I don't brag about that. But if anything goes wrong, it's my phone that rings. That's fact. So, yeah, life is about being the best. Now, you could be a lot more humbler about it. I mean, the thing that I will say about wrestling is they're boisterous about being the best, which is not something I recommend doing in the work sector because that's a good way to get fired. But everything in life is about who's the best. So let's miss these bad faith arguments. And, if you want to have a discussion in good faith, we can discuss how this is and how that is, and I can compare them for you. Now, Tony has been putting out a whole lot more video packages, God, but at least they pertain to that exact storyline because he does it the right way. He puts a video package where you need a video package, and he keeps the storyline built around the video package. Mariah May, Bryan Danielson, Will Ospreay, they're all getting video package. Pac got a video package. It went all Oprah Winfrey on it. You get a video package. You get a video package. Everybody gets a video package tonight. But they made sense. A lot of WWE's video packages don't make a whole lot of sense sometimes. And if you're honest, you admit that. And a lot of WWE scenarios don't make a lot of sense. And if you're honest, you admit that. There's some stuff in AEW that doesn't make sense, but there's a whole lot less of that. But it requires that you stay informed. I told somebody today, and this is the truth, 2 years ago. Actually, longer than that. I'm sorry. I was about to tell you a lie. About 2014, 2015, I didn't even have cable television, and people would tell me how I'm watching Fox News and all that other bullshit, but that's neither here nor there. I didn't have cable television. All I had was the WWE app. And to be honest with you, I never watched hardly a minute of Raw or SmackDown unless I could find a bootleg feed on Sky or something like that. Occasionally I could find a bootleg feed, and I'd watch a little bit there for like 20 minutes before it got shut down. The point of all that is, I could come into their, at that time, PLE, pay-per-view, premium live events, I think is when they first started using that term with the WWE app. I could come in and watch their premium live events, and I would be instantly caught up before every match because they gave it all away. There's no incentive for me to actually watch television because they're going to give it to me at the PLE. Pay attention to that at Bash in Berlin tomorrow or Saturday. Pay attention to how they recap so much shit. Because right now you've only got 5 matches, which means in a 4-hour period, you're going to have less than 2 hours of actual wrestling. The rest of it's going to be commercials, video packages, and promos. So pay attention to that part this time, guys. And I'm not saying do it for the hate of the sport. I'm saying do it for your own intelligence. Pay attention to how they cover that thing. Pay attention to everything they give you. And how if you would just subscribe to the next tier, you can get even more content during the show, which I don't care to do because I'm up to date. So pay attention to things like that. Pay attention to how people talk to you. And that's the problem. So yes, WWE storylines are there, and AEW storylines are there. One requires effort, one requires no effort. So instead of being disingenuous to say, oh, well, AEW doesn't have storylines, translation is they don't have storylines you can follow because they're not constantly recapped. You don't have a news blip at the corner. You don't have 500 ways to know what happened 10 minutes ago. So they don't have a storyline that's compelling to you because you actually have to watch the fucking show. And that's sad. If you're in that category, you're sad. The next thing that I thought was really good out of Dynamite, and I'm getting away from the storyline thing because I kind of feel like I've explained that best I can. If you missed it, hit me a message. I'll spell it out for you. It's fine. The other thing that we're not talking a whole lot about, especially in women's wrestling right now, is the emergence of Harley Cameron as an actual legitimate professional wrestler. She's not a pretty face with good jokes anymore. She was an actual competitor in there, and the person that Jamie Hayter needed to get that ring rust busted off of her. I think that Harley Cameron is a very solid female wrestler who happens to be easy on the ice. Same thing with Saraya. Saraya is a phenomenal technical wrestler. Now she's a step or two, maybe a step slower, and that's not saying anything after all she's been through. The fact that she's only like, I would even go as far as say a half step slower. That's where I would go with that. Easy on the eyes, good wrestler. Harley Cameron, easy on the eyes, becoming a phenomenal wrestler. And I think that's overlooked a lot these days. I think the potential of having the most stacked women's division in all of professional wrestling, and I said it and I stand on it. The mere fact that we saw Harley Cameron in there pulling off some good technical moves, I'd put her in a match with Liv Morgan right now. She'd stomp a mud hole in there and walk that shit dry. Because she can go. She's got the cardio. She's got all of that. And she could go longer than 3 minutes. I think she could go 10, 15 minutes easily. So that's one thing that was missed last night. The other thing that was missed last night, not missed by the fans, but missed a lot on commentary and everything else, was the debut of Ricochet. And they let him go over Kyle Fletcher, which I thought was an immediate impact. Kyle could stand the loss, obviously. But it sets Ricochet up as a little bit larger than life, and you actually got to see Ricochet wrestle. That flippy shit y'all keep calling that. WWE is the only group in town that does not utilize gymnastics that much. And when they do utilize them, they're stupid. So they're just not that good at it. So just go ahead and say that. Even if you... I'm going to leave it alone. But Will Ospreay, Ricochet will not happen at All Out, but it needs to happen quickly. That really needs to happen. That's going to feed generations by itself. Don't get me wrong, Will Ospreay versus Pac in All Out, that one's going to feed. That one's going to feed pretty well. And that's fact. That one's going to feed pretty well. I think that Will Ospreay beats Pac, and Pac already has the title, so we're good with that. He's a trios champion. You know, the Lucha Brothers signed on the dotted line. If anybody wonders if they're going to AEW, they're going to WWE. They are going to WWE because that trios title win was supposed to be Pac and them, not Pac and two members of the Blackpool Combat Club. Tony calls an audible in there. They win. So, Pac was going to get that title. Who he got it with is totally dependent on what the Lucha Brothers did. So they signed on the dotted line. They're gone. We know they're gone. And they missed out on the trios title. They could have had a trios title, could have had a Wembley moment. Yes, it's a Wembley moment. I don't really care what people think about it. You have your WrestleMania moment. We have our Wembley moment. Next year, we're going to have our Texas moment. You know what? Get over it. Cry me a river, okay? Cry me a river. Tired of that shit, too. Overall, though, to get back to the Hangman and Swerve storyline, I really, 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 You want to know how to tell when AEW puts on a really good show? Number one, the drones come out and they're like, "Oh, well, where was this story?" Okay, screw that part of it. Then the wrestlers come out and tell you everything they did wrong in the show. Well, it was an okay show, but here's where they fucked up. That's when you know Tony Khan is putting on a good show. Tony Khan and his booking committee. He has one. Whether you like it, don't like it, he's not booking for a party of one. He's booking in a party of 7 to 22. And I believe that number. Because I know Mercedes has got her own story writer. I know Swerve's got his own story writer. I know Will Ospreay's got his own story writer. Chris Jericho has his own drug dealer. Story writer. A lot of them, MJF has his own. Britt has her own. And they all come together with the booking committee, and then they go to Tony. And 9 times out of 10, Tony pushes stuff. Some things he sets back. So when he said he has a booking committee of 27, y'all thought it was a joke. I didn't. I don't think it's 27, but I don't think it's 3 either. So that's that. But, I mean, I'm done with that. Bash at Berlin predictions. Rhea and Damian go over in the first match. They're going to do this in what I call 33-33 booking. Because Rhea and Damian go over in the first round. The second round, Liv's going to win. Liv's going to retain the title on Rhea. Third round, Rhea's going to pick the title up off of Liv. So this one right here, the only match I'm really even remotely interested in is that. I'm not the least bit invested in Randy Orton and Gunther. I think Gunther is a shoe-in because there is no way they're going to let the guy that held the IC title that long lose the World Heavyweight title in his first defense. That's not going to happen. This will be 50-50 booking down the road. I think the goal is to get the title on Randy Orton because when they move Roman Reigns up to Raw, which they're going to have to do to pull off the Blood Games or the Survivor Series and everything else, they're going to have them fully separated. So it's probably not a bad idea to get that title on Randy sooner rather than later because eventually that title will go to Roman. I don't think the WWE title is Roman's title. I'm in the minority on that. I don't think that the WWE title is Roman's title. I think the World Heavyweight Championship is Roman's title. I think that's going to be his title to carry for several years, especially with them going over to Netflix. They're going to bring out their heavy hitters. So it makes sense that Roman Reigns is going to be there. So I'm not quite invested in anything going on with the WWE title yet because they haven't declared an actual successor yet. And I know I'm going to get hate for that, and I don't really care. They haven't. They haven't done that. But what I do know is that Netflix is interested in having Roman Reigns on Raw. So you might as well say, go ahead and put that title on Randy Orton because that'll be who Roman takes it off of. You can't have that Roman Gunther fight. You just can't do that. You got to keep them separate for at least another year. You got to build that one up. Because I think that Gunther, or Walter as I know him, is going to be sadly mistaken when he wonders if his aura will outdo Roman Reigns' aura in the scope of WWE, who are actively out there finding every mid-carder they can find to stuff in this damn bloodline. So I don't see that one changing at all. I'm standing on that prediction because it's the only way they make this bloodline story work. Now, they can try to cram it all down on SmackDown, but, it just doesn't feel like it's going to work. You can't have them all in the same building and not fight at all. So the best move is to move half of them to Raw, keep the other half on SmackDown, have a couple of little skirmishes, and finish it off at the pay-per-view, or P, as they call it. That's the only thing that makes logical sense. That's a storyline. But even still, it's to say who's the best wrestler. Still a storyline, still looking at the best wrestler. I'm going to keep hammering that part home because obviously WWE fans have not one fucking clue how these fights are booked. They're not, but anyway, it's neither thing. It's neither here nor there. But so I'm invested in that match. I'm invested in. Oh God, I guess I'll be invested in the tag thing because hopefully this is where we see the breakup and they start trying to get some ROI out of Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill because that ship is almost out of the dock. I'm not looking at this from a fan perspective. I'm looking at it from a reality perspective. They almost have no ROI left in this feud. So they need to make that move. And this just seems like the best way to do it. They don't capture the title. Jade blames Bianca. Bianca blames Jade. Split up happens. So that's my prediction. Jade and Bianca Belair lose. They split up right there. We have a major riff. Everything splits up right there. And those are only two matches right there that I'm even remotely interested in. The rest of them, you know, the Randy Orton Gunther thing just doesn't move me. It's not moving the needle. We know Gunther's going to win, and we know that people spent their hard-earned money, and that's how it better go this time because you know what? If you give them that glass cow kiss again, you can kiss Europe goodbye because they're finicky. That singing crowd can turn into the booing crowd pretty damn fast because most of them are reasonably intelligent. They're not marks. And they don't fit in your category. They're just happy to have a live event on their soil. So they don't have to stay up till 4 o'clock in the fucking morning to watch it. Facts. So, with that said, anyway, my last topic. I'm going to be covering Collision on Saturday, and I'm also going to cover a little bit of SmackDown and a little bit of Dynamite. Going forward, I think my WWE coverage is going to be limited strictly to premium live events. I'm not covering Raw. I'm not covering SmackDown. I damn sure ain't covering NXT anymore. I've lost the joy to do it, and it just isn't the same thing for me. And I don't want to come on here and bellyache about a show that I didn't like. Nobody wants to see that. I don't want to do it. So all of my coverage going forward is going to probably be New Japan, Ring of Honor, AEW. I'm going to cover some Maple Leaf Pro. I'm going to cover those for a little while. And maybe WWE will give me something to look at to come back where I feel like I can give you the report you want to hear. Because I can't give you the report you want to hear. When I look at some of this, the product is shit. And don't give me that money thing. There are certain builders in my trade that make money hand over fist, and they build shitty houses. They're just good enough. They're good enough to stand for 10 to 15 years. Then they're going straight in the ground. So don't give me that he who has the most money must be the best, because that's just simply not true. Money is not an indicator of good. It really is not. Brand name is not an indicator of good. It never has been, and it shouldn't be now. But I'm definitely going to be covering all of AEW. I'm going to be covering New Japan, Ring of Honor, OVW. I'm even going to cover some Memphis wrestling because they've got some good people coming through there. They had Cowboy James Storm on there probably about, 3 weeks ago, something like that. But those are the ones I'm going to cover. Wow, we're up to 8 people right when I'm getting ready to leave. I'm so sorry, guys. It's not going to be one of those long streams tonight. But I'm definitely going to be back Saturday night. And this was a pop-up stream in the first place. So thank you guys for being here. But that's what I'm going to cover going forward. So you're not going to see a whole lot of WWE stuff out of me for a while because I need to do another cleanse. So it'll just be PLEs, and I'll cover the backstories and so on and so forth. So it'll make the PLEs a whole lot more interesting. I will have good things to say, because that's when it's time to show off. That's when all the bullshit's over. That's when all the phoning in stops. That's when they have to show and they have to perform for your $400 and $500, $600 a seat. They got to actually give you your money's worth then. So, but guys, I really appreciate it. I appreciate the people who've showed up. I appreciate the followers. I appreciate comments too. So if you leave comments on the videos and so on and so forth, I'm going to let them stay there unless they're absolutely stupid. I had one that I had to delete on YouTube. So let's try to keep them civil, okay, guys? I try to keep it civil, and I think that's just what we ought to do because it makes for a better discussion of wrestling. But for the moment here, I am going to be out for the evening, and I'm probably going to watch New Japan tomorrow night, and I'm looking forward to that and Dynamite. So without any further ado, I hope everybody has a great night. Have a safe night, and if I don't see you again, I want you to have a safe holiday. And do me a favor. This is from me to you. Your holiday goes better. Your attitude determines your altitude. Because at this stage of the game, it is getting close. It will be September. And the post COVID environment that we live in now, it used to be we had you guys down here for 3 or 4 months and then you go home, then we could live our lives. And for like 3 or 4 months, we just had to get out of the way and let you do your thing. Now it's year round. So if you're going to do that, be respectful to people that actually live there. Because we have to live here, and I don't want to leave the beach or the mountains. So you expect us to treat your place like it's home, treat ours the same way. You'll get a whole lot more cooperation. Your trip will be a whole lot more fun. You will not have people standing on bridges going, go the fuck home. That actually happened at the Outer Banks last year. Because it got that bad, and most of the people were that bad. Do better. It's Labor Day. Or Memorial Day. I forget which one. It's just a holiday, and the banks are going to be closed. But do better. And that's my clear the air for the night. Hope everybody has a great evening. Have a safe holiday. Don't blow fingers off with fireworks. Please don't do that, because that will suck, and you still have to go to work. So do that and be safe. Have fun. Take care. God bless. And good night, America, wherever you are.